writing
All right, we'll call the council meeting to order. And this item would be adoption of the agenda. And with that, we have the pages for the zoning bylaw amendment which has been handed out. So with that, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Board delegations this evening. First of all, we have Denise Scott regarding medical cannabis. And just a note here that at 6:30 we will be adjourning this meeting to host a couple public hearings. So if we're not finished this agenda, we will have to reconvene the rest of the items after those public hearings. Go ahead, Denise, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Mayor Ives and council members, and hi everybody. My name is Denise Ruff, and I'm here just to provide you with a little bit of education about a clinic that is available in the Valley. And it is called GrowWise Health. It is also associated with White Cedar Medical Cannabis Doctors. And this is a specialist clinic within a doctor's office. And basically what we do, page, yeah, thank you. So GrowWise in particular provides patient education. And as a bit of a background, we are actually a franchise from Ontario. There's 12 clinics in Ontario that have been running for the past 2.5 years. We do it within the legislation that is currently out there. The clinic itself here in the Valley has no product and no cash on site. So we're not a dispensary, okay? We are entirely different. We operate within the legal boundaries. And we intend to continue to do that. Basically because our history is that we are a medical company. We come from pharmacy, lab, private healthcare services. We come from that background, and we are moving into the medical cannabis industry. As opposed to many other organizations or many other companies that are out there set up as dispensaries, which come from some other business background and trying to become a medical cannabis clinic. So we actually come from the medical side of things. So we personalize the education for the clients. The clients, they must come, by appointment only. And they come through referrals, either self-referral or directly referred from their physician. And the physician, all of their medical information is looked at to make sure that we actually are able to provide those people with the medical cannabis. Okay, page down. Thank you. So some of the things that medical cannabis is actually good for, there is a growing strong body of research showing that it's good for chronic pain and migraines, difficulty sleeping, some GI disorders, in particular IBS, some celiac issues, as well as epilepsy. It has been found to be very effective with the seizures that they have. PTSD, inflammation, multiple sclerosis, nausea and vomiting when it comes to palliative and oncology situations. So medical cannabis in Canada, basically there are 34 licensed producers. I think there was just a 35th one done recently. These are groups, organizations that have plants that quality control the growth, the entire process from seed to the end product. So, and that product can be oils or it could be the actual leaf. And one of the things that we actually talk about when we are working with patients is what is the right type of way to get it. If you've never been a smoker, then you're probably not going to want to pick up a joint and smoke it or a pipe or those kinds of things. So there are other modes of getting the great effects that some medical cannabis can have. Okay. So also, typically, this is set up entirely differently than other drugs are currently set up. If you have Lipitor, you need to go with something like Lipitor, so for your cholesterol levels. You would take that script, and you would go to a pharmacy, and the pharmacy would fulfill it for you. That distribution route is not set up for the current situation when it comes to medical cannabis. And so one of the major things we do is help people, how do you figure out how to get it when it's been prescribed for you? And, can you turn? So what we are actually able to do is work with the physician. We have one in our office, the White Cedar medical cannabis physician, who is a specialist. And then then our nurse works with the prescription that was given, and then we actually help the client or the patient figure out, how do I know what to do? How do I know what to expect? How do I know when to take it? How do I take the right dosage? How do I learn all of these things? So we spend a great deal of time on the education component, helping that patient establish a medical treatment plan and work with it, and then be able to report back on it. So we establish a really good relationship where just because the patient leaves our office today doesn't mean that we're never going to see them again. We actually set up appointments for them at 10 days to make sure that they've started right. And then we start having meetings again with them in about 30 days, 60 days. The prescription itself is only good for a year, so they have to come back to us. Okay? We also set up expectations, help them set up goals as to what they're going to try to do with the cannabis. This is going to be a new experience for them. So what are some of the goals that they are trying to accomplish, and how can we help them get there? And then we provide that ongoing support and counseling for them. The other thing that's really important about the GrowWise White Cedar clinics is that we do not charge anything. Our services are under MSP, so for the medical portions, that's all covered under the MSP. We're able to offer the education because the LPs provide funds for education. So that's the licensed producers themselves. Okay? And that's how we're able to provide the ongoing relationships with the clients. We also do a lot of public education where I go out and I speak to, for instance, I have an appointment to speak with palliative people up in Campbell River and educate them on the whole process, because they get asked questions, how do I do this, would it be good for me? And they don't have A, the time, or B, necessarily the knowledge. So that's a huge component that we do as a service out of the clinic. Okay, next page. The whole process that we go through is, once the patient gets a prescription from the physician, they get a prescription, they come to the nurse helps them actually work through the whole process. So she's validating, and she's validating that medical document, that prescription. So you actually have two eyes, just like you would have in a pharmacy situation, where you've got the doctor that writes it, then you've got the pharmacy tech and the pharmacy person that also looks at his prescription. So there is a number of series of checks that actually the patient goes through in order for them to be able to order the product. The product, like I said, we don't have any of it on site. It actually comes to the patients via Canada Post. That is the way the federal government set it up. They order it through the licensed producer. It comes through Canada Post, and it arrives in an unmarked box, and it must be signed for. That is the current standard. That is the current way that it is set up, and that's the way it's done. Okay? They're also only able to order a specific amount in a month, and that depends on the prescription. Okay? And they can only have one source. So just like we have PharmaNet here, where you go in, you cannot go to one pharmacy and get your Lipitor and then go, down to the next pharmacy and get your Lipitor as well. Because it's all computerized, put into a system called PharmaNet. We are only allowed, as patients, to have one licensed producer. You can only get your medical cannabis from that particular source. Okay? Next. So like I said, we are, GrowWise itself operates these medical centers and medical clinics. We are available, and they are run by RNs or LPNs as educators. So it's all healthcare people that help navigate the system for the patient. Next. basically, these are the things that we've already talked about. We help them navigate them through the therapeutic effects, provide them with guidelines on what to expect, how to choose the right strains. It's very important because there's lots of people who will get a prescription from their doctor and then they'll go into a dispensary and then their experience isn't so great because they haven't gotten the right kind of strain, the right dose, those kinds of things. Next. We also provide a great deal of assistance to physicians. So as we serve as an education resource, and we are able to provide them with as much education as they need. And our physician is actually on the national board for the White Cedar. I don't want to take much more time. I have actually provided the council here with a couple of documents. It really covers the White Cedar process. And then the next page covers the GrowWise process. And then the last page that is here is actually our letter that has gone out to over 250 physicians in the Comox Valley, introducing the clinic to them so that they can refer. Okay? Do I have any questions?
Council may have some questions, possibly. Seeing none, you were asking for a letter of support, and then one of your earlier pieces of material referenced you being located in the hospital, but it looks to me like you're behind the IHOS gallery right now.
Right now, we're behind the IHOS gallery. This is a short-term fix because we've had the hospital does not have space. They literally don't even have space for a desk for anybody currently on staff. So as things move, that is the intention that we are moving into the St. Joe's site.
Normally, the delivery of healthcare is not something within our state. So
awareness was my bigger intention.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? Go ahead.
So have you had a meeting with the family physicians in the valley yet?
We've met with several, and lots of them have told us that they're not comfortable either writing a prescription, but they're happy to refer, and that's quite fine. I would much rather, I feel much better, because you don't want a doctor writing a prescription for something that you don't understand. It doesn't matter whether it's a Lipitor or anything. So since medical cannabis is relatively new, there's a lot of research that goes into it, and so what we have is we have a specialist, and that's his focus. So he can write the prescriptions based on the medical needs that have been identified.
Yeah, are you finding acceptance in the community for this type of service, or are some of the physicians a little old school that they're not buying in?
Well, so we have a number of physicians that currently write prescriptions.
Right.
So, and then what they do is they either recommend a particular licensed producer or they just send their patients off into the world to let them figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
This is that added buffer for the clients themselves, and it's free for the patients, so we're getting out there. I do know that like I said, the palliative people up in Campbell River have asked for this meeting specifically because they want to be educated. At least to know where to send people.
I think it's a good service. 15 years ago, my wife had MS, and we had to self-regulate with it, and it was very beneficial, but it kind of left us to our own. And so I think this service is great, and I think it's going to benefit a lot of people. So
that's what our intention is today.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
The next delegation, Pat McKenna and Tom Bashir here regarding managing an update on their activities. Set up there.
Good evening, everyone. Worship and council and staff. Thank you for the invitation today. We're here today just to update you on Habitat's activities in the valley. and to give you some excited news with regard to what's coming up in 2017. Next slide. First of all, our mission, for those who don't know it, we're here to empower hardworking families and make home ownership affordable by mobilizing community spirit and generosity. So that means we sell homes to families, we don't give them away. Next. Our local history at a glance, next. Our affiliate, there's 50 affiliates across the country. Our affiliate covers Bowser North to the top end of the island, and we were established in 2004. We operate 2 restores, one in the Comox Valley and one in Campbell River, and we engage hundreds of volunteers and donors annually. Next. Our home ownership program has served 30 children and 20 families, and we've built and sold 18 homes. So here's our future. We're here to build a land bank, empower families through home ownership, and build strong, sustainable partnerships. So 2017 has us, this is very, very exciting for us. We, Jimmy Carter, U.S. President Jimmy Carter, former U.S. President, and his wife, Rosalind, travel the world, different destination every year. This year they've chosen Canada to commemorate our 150th birthday. We're going to build 150 homes across the country. Wow. And President Carter and his wife are coming to Edmonton and Winnipeg. We're doing one of those 150 homes in Campbell River. And here's a note from our PM. Maybe not. He's always come on. Okay. Anyways, he's just doing the national announcement. You can find it on YouTube. All you have to do is Google Prime Minister Trudeau and Habitat Jimmy Carter Work Project. Next.
Is that up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
That's
All right, you can imagine him saying great things about Habitat.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
You could have filled in.
We've got some fantastic partners and have built great relationships with these partners over the last over 11 years. No, more than that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're getting old.
We're getting old. Anyway, City of Campbell River, RBC Foundation, North Island, Comox Valley Community Foundation, BC Housing, The Base, and Coastal Community Credit, there are anchors in our projects. And we're here to remind you today that we would like Comox to be on this list as well going forward. So that really sums it up, and Pat and I are here for questions if you have any specific.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Any questions from members of council?
We wanted to keep the presentation short so we can answer all your questions.
I know you have been speaking to staff about a specific property, and without too much detail, you see that going forward in the near future?
So just a short history, I've been there a year and a half now, and it's taken me a while to get my roots on the 15 million things that I need to do every day. One of the things is our mortgage policy, and that was kind of an internal thing that held us from that component of land. So for the last year and a half, I've been working with the board and looking at our mortgage policy, trying to make that least component work, and we're very close on that. Yeah. And I've had great conversations with Richard and Marlon regarding that.
Well, I was just wondering, you said Jimmy Carter was coming up for this, are you sure it's not because there's new presidents coming in?
Jimmy announced before that, so,
Okay.
yeah, they were both
There's a lot of
running,
Americans coming up here.
both running at the same time, and he's had some failing health, but he's committed to being in Edmonton and Winnipeg. And he was in Winnipeg 30 years ago when Habitat started in Canada. He came up there to kind of help with the kickoff there, so it's really exciting for us. We'll build about 350 homes across Canada next year. Wow. So the 150 homes is just part of what we're promising through the Jimmy Carter Work Project. So.
And can you just touch on, in more seriousness, how you're funded? Like, how do you get the money to build these houses?
Sure.
I kind of have a pretty good idea, but it's pretty interesting.
So the two restores self-fund the enterprises, social enterprises. Okay, so they two restores will do $6 million next year, okay, in sales. And that's primarily donated goods. So, you know, we'll generate about a 50 margin after operational expenses. And so we use that 750,000 to build homes. But when you spend $720,000 on land, like we've done in the last 4 months, that reserve of cash gets depleted quite quickly. We're dependent upon a lot of these bodies. As an example, from a municipal standpoint and how municipalities partner with Habitat for Humanity, the city of Campbell River actually invites us into meetings to talk about their affordable housing strategy. They'll sit with us and they'll ask us questions like, how can we help? What can we do? Our last project on Dalton, we had over $45,000 of forgivable costs as we developed. Then, you know, they'll invite us in again, as they did last month, and say, we know you're going to build now on Hilchey, we bought an acre of property, how can we help you? I assume you want the same help. And those are the kind of questions that municipalities will ask. RBC Foundation, Coastal Community Credit Union, the Comox Valley Foundation, the Campbell River Foundation, in excess of about $70,000-$80,000 in donations last year. BC Housing, we went as a group of BC affiliates. There are 9 of us in BC, and we went to BC Housing. We've been going to them for 5 years, and finally we broke through the wall. So we get $2 million as a group next year to build homes. Sounds like a lot, but when you divide it out by 9, you know, the funding is $250,000. The average cost of one of our homes is $150,000 per side. We build 1,200 square foot duplexes, 3 bedrooms, and so, you know, that money doesn't go a long way. It sounds like a lot of money, but so we put our hand out a lot, Councillor Ken. So you know, that's how we get our money. We have great partners, and we're always looking for more.
So at one point in time, development cost charges were a bit of a sticking point. I know Habitat wanted us to go, and there was some rationale why we felt we couldn't. Have you gotten past that in Campbell River?
We have. You have to pay the development costs. There's no way around that, and the development cost charges have to be paid. What the city of Campbell River does is they have an internal financing where they grant them back.
Okay, so
they use their contingency funds that they have. I'm sure the town of Comox has a couple of contingency funds for affordable housing. One from the taxing and one from gaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's where theirs come from, and they're quite liberal about using that to drive their affordable housing policy.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Hunt?
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna ask them funding through the Restore, so Ken, thank you.
Councillor Price?
So the people who actually are lucky enough to get an affordable home, how does that process work?
So we have, we call it somewhat a family selection event. We had our last family selection event down at Lewis Center. We had over 60 families attend. The need is hundreds and hundreds, but we had 60 attend. They have an application through, and essentially it's 3 things they need to qualify. Number one is they have to meet the financial criteria. We use the BC housing income limits for that. So it's approximately $20,000 to $44,000 of annual income. Once they meet the financial criteria, we put them through a screening process. We have a volunteer family selection committee, and they go out and they interview all the families that meet that financial selection committee. Then it synthesizes down to the final 2 questions is the ability to partner and the ability to pay the mortgage. And so we had just finished this week announcing our first 3 families for Lake Trail. We don't announce our families, but we've selected our families for Lake Trail. It's extensive. It takes about 2.5 to 3 months to go through the process and to ensure equity as well and fairness. Did that answer your question?
Councillor Hunt?
Yeah, so with that, so folks move into the house, 10 years later they move out, what happens? Is it their house?
We celebrate because that's considered a success for us.
Yeah.
Our goal is to move people out of that close to poverty situation and move them through, and you know, the moniker we use is give them a hand up.
Right.
So they pay us a no interest mortgage. We apply all those payments to equity. There's some formulaic stuff in there, math, my wife's job,
Yeah, yeah.
but or June, my accountant, but essentially what they give us, we give them back. We retain a little bit to keep that home in affordable housing. We have first right of refusal on all of our houses, so we try and keep that house in affordable housing every time. And so, but they realize a huge gain in the equity component because they don't pay any interest on the mortgage. And so we write them a check, literally. We had a family going to Piercy. They were there 3 years. They qualified for a conventional mortgage. We wrote them a check. They used that money as a deposit, and they now live in the town of Comox. Yeah. It's awesome.
Councilor Kim.
Yeah, just wanted to say thank you for clarifying many things about your organizations here. I know the council and the town would like to work together and partner and make something work here. So appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Right, and just for clarification, we don't have gaming funds, that's the city of Courtney through the casino.
Yeah.
But we do have a affordable housing reserve fund, so.
Thanks for the clarity. Don't build it to see.
No. Love for them to share it with us.
Unless you want to share some of your poker nights.
Yeah, that negative 100 doesn't. Well, we want to thank you very much for having us here this evening, and it's our pleasure to come and talk to you guys.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks.
All right, we have Grant Skelly.
Evening, worship and counselors.
I guess you're going to speak for everybody?
Yeah, Grant Skelly from Central Builders, Trent McIntyre from Atlas, Jamie Edwards from Orville Page for the owners of Toscanos. We had submitted an application for a new deck. After reviewing your minutes, talking to some of the counselors yourselves, and going through the paper, we've come up with a new proposal for it. We understand the future of the intersection is chaotic. We understand there could be a future bus route along Burford. There could be grant money for this new upgrade in the intersection. What we're proposing is to sign a 4-year lease. However, if there's a deadline on the government money saying we need to redo this intersection, we'd be more than willing to take a 6-month. If you say, okay, you gotta be out in 6 months, just get us to the fall. So if it happens, say, hey, listen, we have this approval money coming in April, give us till operate for the summer months, and we'll be out October. So that's kind of addressing one of those concerns. We're assuming this money, so if this money came in the 3rd year of the lease, we'd be out by the end of the 3rd year. We understand that intersection is a bit of a mess, so we're here to work with you guys. Once the lease is expired, we'd have to go back to council again to get a renewal. We understand this, we are business people. We are not here to upset anybody. I was concerned about, well, once the deck is there, would we be willing to take it down? We would be. If the restaurant to sell, that would be the stipulation. If we sold the restaurant, we would remove the deck then. So then the new people to take over the restaurant, they were well aware that they would have to approach you. So we're trying to make this simple and less, so we don't want confrontation with the councilors and the new owners, if we're to sell it. No intention of selling. After talking to the town of Comox staff, we met them on site, we agreed the new deck would be set back in case we had to put a new sidewalk in. We talked about current sight lines, that is a congestion, the current deck is, it's a big corner there. We agreed that we would knock the corner off, and then we suggested in a new proposal that if we were to remove the new deck, that we'd leave the existing corner off. So the sight lines would be better. You come up to that stop sign, you can see straight across. Well, not straight across, but up the road. Right now you can't. When looking at the deck, our property, the building itself is on the property line. We think there's no chance that there'd be extra turning lane going in. There's approximately 10 feet of the building to the sidewalk. I sent you guys all have this overhead picture. So that bushy is about, the garden there is about 10 feet. So then you have the sidewalk, I think about 36 inches. So I think a new lane would be 10 to 11 feet. Is that right, Marvin?
I don't know.
Okay, I looked it up in Google, depending on the community, but that means the sidewalk would be right against the building if you wanted to put a turning lane in there. So I'm saying I'm taking the chance there's no way a turning lane is going to go in there. Right? There's not enough room there. We're prepared to put up a $3,000 bond to ensure that when requested, we remove the deck. Another concern was the cost of space was not fair and equitable. We had made a phone call to Steve Blackmore, commercial real estate appraiser in town. He said the BCA land appraisal rate is about $30 a square foot. 8% return on that would be $2.40 a square foot. We made, when we met with the town of Comox staff, we agreed to $8 a square foot. I've been told the city, I believe, leases the land and building, the town of Comox, for $15 a square foot. We made agreement for $8 a square foot. We'd be paying about $2,500 a year plus the taxes on the deck area. This does not give us advantage over other businesses. This is actually giving us a level playing field. It will be a disadvantage when you're looking at the parklet program, which the community is doing. But because the parklet program is $50 a year. But that's all good. We do have letters of support from the BIA. They had another meeting last night about it, supporting it. I was talking to Ed Moyes. We have support from the Blackfin. What's the benefits of the deck proposal? That help with the downtown revitalization of the town of Comox. More traffic to the town of Comox. Pretty sure everybody's after that. Make the downtown into a dining destination. Help with the intersection with the sightline improvements. Provide income to the town of Comox from the lease and extra taxes, and most importantly, those people who have residences, which is me in the town of Comox, probably maybe help reduce my taxes. Questions?
Actually, this is maybe one more for staff than for you, but, so I get, like, if you sell the thing, then you'll take the deck away, or if you need to, you take it away, but how do we relate that to a new owner? Like, what would the mechanism be? Can we put a charge on title for something like that, or, like, because I can just see, like, you guys sell, council gets kicked out, Richard loses a job, and all of a sudden, here we are, and we're taking the guy's deck down, and we're ruining a business, and, like, we've seen it all before, I guess that's the
Yeah, I
problem.
understand that.
So, I'm trying to figure out a way, because I'd love to see this happen. I mean, I can totally see the benefit here. I just want to make sure that we're not going to become the bad guy at the end, and it's really nice that you say you'll do all this, and you give us a letter, but I don't know how we can make that. Maybe Richard, you could help me with how we could make that so everybody knows what we're doing.
It's just, see that green that shirt. We
It's,
did that was in the last presentation.
It's unlikely that you'd be able to do notice on title simply because land titles is not going to be used as a notice court. I think the way that we had drafted in the last staff report was an agreement where we'd be doing a lease agreement or a specific number of years. From the town's perspective, we wouldn't enter into anything more than 5 years because you'd have to go to public assent for anything longer than 5. What I would like to let council know is what has come up while we've been drafting our financial plan for this year is that in year 5 we've identified design work for Beaufort from Church to Northern because that's part of our traffic management, traffic improvement for Beaufort. So year 5 of financial plan from 2017 to 2021. So 2021 we're going to be doing design work. 2022 we're going to be improvements on Beaufort. What does that entail? I can't say at this stage. Whether it's going to require road widening or not, more than likely. So that portion would be affected.
And it could be servicing that goes under there, like water, sewer, not sidewalk or road, but it could be other service.
It could be.
So I guess the other thing that brings up, I know what happens if we apply for grant money and you have a deadline on your grant and you have to have it spent by, and I have been in a situation where we pulled a grant because you didn't go, so 6 months might be a little bit long. Just, I mean, it could be a problem, just letting you know that we might want to shorten that up. I guess that's a detail that we could deal with.
If you work to the end of September.
Yeah.
But I understand that.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to address
Yeah.
that.
But so we know in 5 years, we're going to be, within the next 5 years, we're
Well, no, in 6 years.
Yeah.
In 6 years,
Fair enough.
we will. In
So
five,
funding or-
yes, in 5 years, we will be doing design work, again, subject to funding.
Now, is there a chance that we would move that schedule forward, or, I mean, I guess there's always a chance, but
That's subject to council direction. At this stage, you know, we're looking at doing it, you know, we're forecasting out that far.
so what I'm looking at
And
though
forward-
is there's a 5-year window here, I guess is what I'm looking at.
Yes.
Right? Unless we change our plan, we have a 5-year window, I mean, you're talking about a 5-year lease,
Then,
or 4-year, or whatever.
Well, I think what would happen following this delegation is to have to bring back for the report with some of those issues addressed in that
Okay.
timeframes and so on.
Yes.
That's
Getting into too much. Okay, no problem.
That's all right.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for the presentation. One thing that was brought up, that it would be a removable deck, so where if the services were to go along there, it seems it would be too easy just to lift that deck up and put the services in there and probably put it back down. I think you've addressed everything that the council has had concerns with in the past. I like the idea that you're willing to put up a bond, you're willing to pay a very fair lease rate, with taxes on top of that. The one thing that you're doing is you're going to take that corner off, which in fact, for the next 5 years, is going to improve the visibility on that corner. Whereas right now, that deck comes out a little bit there along that corner. So I think it's a positive thing. And then if you were to take the deck off, you had indicated that you would leave that corner off, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I really see this as a win-win. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in 5 years? After Friday, who knows? I think we have a good opportunity here for some people to throw some new things into Comox, and if you're willing to take the chance and build this, and with knowing that in 5 years it could be removed, then no harm, no foul. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Grant. In the picture, it looks like you're going to get 4 tables, is it?
You know, I don't have those.
Okay.
But yes.
But that's kind of.
Whatever fits in. There's probably a 2-top and a 4-top, and then there'd be a couple of them.
It might be a bit more than 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my question is, when I raised it the last time, was, did you consider some outdoor seating, more outdoor seating on Port Augusta, rather than?
When you suggested that, I looked at that, but if you, there's kind of a parking, there's the access to the building that goes up.
Oh, from there, okay.
So there's our entrance,
Yeah.
and then there's the apartment entrance, and then that ties, there's a parking stall there, so, and then it's on level. So I looked at that and going, I don't think that'll go through.
I think it's less space there too, we're looking for a bit more space.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you changed your entrance and kind of combined it with your already existing space, whether there was anything that could work.
Yeah, no, when I looked at it, you'd almost have to move the entrance right by the, where the apartment door is. So whether you could extend that deck across, but there's steps going down, so it became a bit of an issue that way.
Yeah, 'cause we can't move the entrance to the apartments, which is kind of right next there.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I was just wondering if you could move your entrance to the corner, your entrance to the
Yeah,
corner.
but if we did that, we're still leaving the entrance to the apartment, so that's really not gaining space, because you gotta leave an entrance to the apartment.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Just a quick one, you've answered most of my questions.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Grant. Yes, it's good. I love your design and obviously it would make a very positive impact for our downtown.
Oh, thank you.
Question. I like that. But I do have some concerns, of course. But Councillor Swift asked the question, but I might add to it, there's such a degree of uncertainty attached to the street, Beaufort Avenue, and all of the changes that are predicted there. But you say it's really not a possibility for Port Augusta, and you weighed everything. It seems to be it would be a negative impact on your business to have a beautiful addition and then have to take it down. I mean, that doesn't serve your cause, nor does it serve ours.
Right, but if you look at the picture, there's steps going up, there's the entrance to the building. So practically, you may, like, the size of it and how you would manage it.
Just the uncertainty versus that just doesn't weigh up.
Oh, to me, when we looked at it, I mean, I'm all for it, because when Maureen brought it up, I looked at it and go, I mean, that would be the best way to go, but efficiently, to me, when we looked at it, it didn't make sense.
Okay.
Right,
Fair
and then you would have
enough.
and the other plus on the Beaufort side, you're gonna get the view of the mountains and that, you're gonna have a big long deck across that.
So have you guys, oh, sorry.
You finished, Councilor Maria?
Yes, that's what I thank you.
So have you guys reapplied, or are you going to? Like, where are we here? Because what I want to do is get a staff report to give us some more of the detail of when we're going to be doing the road work. So if you haven't applied, we won't get one.
I think it's being brought forward here to council in the hope of getting some indication of support for.
Right, it was a split vote before,
Okay.
when I was meetings, I made
We won't
changes that
specifically
we
be
could.
voting on that tonight, but.
No.
Normally staff would bring back a report, and then we would vote on it.
Okay, so we'll, I guess that's my question. Are we going to get a staff report on this?
Yes.
No, sir.
Yeah, quick question to the CAO. Across the street from Toscano's on the north side, we're building that little viewing area there.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Oh, we were looking at it, what are they doing there?
But we're talking now about something that may happen 5 years, we're building this here. Would that not be impacted by any road work on Beaufort there? I mean, we're putting a lot of investment into that 5 years down the road, we could be ripping up, so.
Well, I think my concern is that if you look across the street from this deck, there is no sidewalk on the Blackpit side. That sidewalk would be completed now. Would that potentially require a road realignment and a sidewalk realignment? So, and I can't speak to that. That's more a question that would be addressed during the design phase.
It would be interesting because the Comox building is up. So if you start approaching towards, because it's on the property line, right, it's not level. So that'd be.
Those things can be addressed perhaps in the staff report. All right, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
We'll hear back from staff in relatively short order, I would imagine. Okay, so next delegation is the gentleman on the Church Street Capos development permit application. So I'm not sure if you're going to start.
Yes, because I have a member of the family very involved with the Church Street House, I recuse myself. It's too cold to go outside.
Nothing to do with this.
All right, gentlemen.
Great, thanks everyone. I'm Chris Morrison, one of the owners, along with the rest of my team at the Church Street Tacos. And thank you for your time, Mayor Ives and Council tonight, to update you on our plans for the design. If you go to the next slide. So just a quick recap of where we are today. So we've received our liquor primary application. It's gone back to the province for final approval. We've also got our demolition permit as well for the existing building. We're planning a new design. And today we're excited to present to you a new design. We've been working very closely with our architect, Tom Disherboy, who's in the crowd tonight as well. It's a two-story commercial building. The pub part of it is actually just one story. Capacity of 175 people, of which approximately 70 is going to be a year-round patio with nice propane fire tables, very aesthetic view from the street. We've already got our hours operation approval as well through council. And another component is some nice Class 1 bicycle parking right up front. And to encapsulate all this in the most perfect way is on the next slide, is I've got a visual look of our design today, and in a moment we'll actually do a video fly around. So I'll actually just run the video and then we can come back to the picture for any questions that you have, and you can see a 360-day kind of fly around. You can run the video. You just hit control and click on the image and it should run the video.
We have the video clip if you.
Okay, the video clip is fine, yeah. So this is as you're walking up from Comox Ave. And it's gone.
Just click the square.
Yeah, that's all.
You see how quiet it is, so it's getting At the back here, we've got some staff bicycle parking in the back right-hand corner. The kitchen will back in onto that back side as well. The path that's just coming along here, where we receive a lot of our deliveries, so there's a path that comes all the way along the side. And then here from this side is the outdoor patio of approximately 70 people that kind of wraps around right to the front side. So as you can see there, bicycle parking just on the right-hand side, wheelchair accessible, and we think a very beautiful design as you walk down Church Street or up from Comox Ave. I can go to the next slide just to get a slightly different view from walking up from Comox Ave, I believe. So this is a view from the parking lot right now. You can see wraparound patio. We've got a garage-style door that will open up when the weather permits, and the entrance at the front, of course. And the last kind of picture we have for you is just kind of a nighttime view. So after hours and everything's shut, kind of a nice walk by. And we think it kind of fits into the kind of West Coast Tap House pub feel is kind of what we're going for. As we designed it, along with Tom, there's some elements of Shelter and Tofino that have been, that we think are close, a style that we liked, and I think a style that will fit very well into Comox as well. And so kind of our next steps in terms of the project, we mentioned in the first slide, we've got a lot of pieces in place in terms of all the permits and licensing that we need to get rolling. So hopefully final DP approval, we've got all the other pieces lined up. So Craig Grant is our commercial developer, one of our owners. He's got all the engineers lined up, all the different things that need to be done for the building permit. They're pretty much ready to go and have been briefed on the project. So as soon as we have that all lined up, we'll begin demolition of the existing building, start immediate construction on the building, and it's approximately a 9-month build-out from start to finish. So that's our presentation for today, and we'll open up to any questions for myself and the rest of the team, and Tom Bishop will
So it appears to me the way you've designed that most of the business will be out the front, and there's some sound attenuation for some of the neighbors in the back where you put more of the goings-on restaurant and things back there. Is that sort of been designed with that in mind, or?
Yeah, it was purposely done of the residential component behind us. So anything outside is kind of facing towards Comox Ave. So that was done with that intention in mind for sure. And we'll have extra inside. We've got capacity for about 100 people inside. Put extra soundproofing in. We're part of the neighborhood. We want to make sure that we're keeping them in mind, and we don't want any hassles from the noise side of things, nor would we want it for your neighbors as well.
Councilor Price?
Great, I think it will be much appreciated and well waited for. The second floor, are you seeing that as being residential or storage?
The second floor, so the whole main floor is going to be the tap house, the kitchen, washroom, and the upstairs is just our offices for our owners, some storage, and that's it. Yeah, so no other commercial entity will run up there.
Okay, you reference the bike parking as well as wheelchair accessibility. It's not clear on these drawings how that physically is going to take place, because there's obviously stairs up the front. Is that another gate or something?
Right on the side.
Yeah, north side of the property, there's another walkway, and it heads down parallel with the Church Street, Church Street Bakery building.
Okay,
And
so that gate opens in other words.
Yeah, actually, I think that's maybe one of the points that we'll be addressing with planning about taking that gate out, so it's just
Or
open
making
all
it
the time.
open on the north side. Right. And then the garbage receptacles you put out front, is that just again?
That's not for day-to-day storage. Day-to-day storage is within the building in the back.
Okay.
That's just on pickup day.
Okay, great. All right, any other questions? Seeing none, your application will come forward a little bit later in the meeting. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Right, we have a few minutes before we have the for the public. For approval, we have the December 7th council meeting minutes. The poll for receipt, December 14th.
Yes, you too, sure.
Have recommendations coming forward from that committee. First, regarding the report, as printed there, the recommendation of town express preference. One, is that? Any further discussion on that? No, second recommendation, is that there are no other parties willing to participate, and that would be option 2 on this term.
With that,
Second.
Questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, motion is carried. And thirdly, that any expansion of the regional water system for this water local service area or other is contingent upon the regional district applying for water licensing.
move that.
Second.
Discussion, seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. And then the next item from committee of the whole is regarding the request for adjustment of regional sewer requisition. That the regional district be requested to amend its bylaws to allow one-time adjustment $2,360,000 in its 2017 sewer requisition to mitigate that amount that Comas was overcharged through sewer requisitions from 2004 to 2015.
Can we move both of those at the same time? One and two?
Sure.
One, one, and two?
The second part of that was if we're opposed to that, then we refer to the lawyers. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Back on December 14th committee, we received the updated 2015-22 strat plan, so motion to approve that.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. We also received a report on renewal of the downtown revitalization program, so that staff and directors prepare by law and this allowed an extension of that.
I'll do that. Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. And finally, that the zoning bylaw validation, staff and directors prepare by law.
Move.
Second.
I do have a question with this now. I'm not sure if this is the part that I asked, but on page, I have a question on page 181 of the zoning bylaw.
We will come to that.
We will come to it, okay.
Yeah, that'll be under, new business.
Okay.
All those in favor? No committee reports, under unfinished business, we have the manager report to receive.
Move to see.
Second.
I'll receive them, all those in favor? Motion's carried. I would like to have council consider adding 2 items to the management report. One would be the Northeast Comox Stormwater Management Plan, and the second being the report application regarding the Macklin estate funds, just as those have been identified in our strat plan recently as priorities over the next number of months, and I think it's probably useful to have at least bi-weekly updates.
Did you want a motion for that, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll move that.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Any further on the manager reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. on the agenda. The development permit, yes, for 215 Church Street. So this is the one we just heard about for the tapos.
Well, maybe we should wait until after.
I've actually moved the recommendation.
I'll second.
So that's for issuance of the permit, subject to completion of the outstanding items in accordance with the conditions listed in the plan report. So we have no further presentations for staff.
And I dare anyone to say no.
You know you can do that.
I don't even drink.
All right, no further discussion, please. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimously? Carry on.
Mark, propose to step aside.
I'm just thinking on that, I'm supposed to step aside, am I, Shelley?
We'll try that again.
Yes.
This is gonna, now we have, this is where it goes wrong.
All right. Let's try
Recommendation again.
All right. Councilor, do I have any further conflict? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. All right. So subject to those conditions and listed in the report, good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We have regional district meeting minutes December 13th for receipt.
Second.
Receipt them, all in favor? And the fire prevention bylaw regulation amendments, and that's for adoption. Adoption, all in favor? We have a number of reconvene here shortly, so for now we'll adjourn to the public hearing, give everyone a chance to set up for that, and we'll come back to new business. Public hearing. Take a 2-minute I like Okay, so we're going to call the public hearing to order. And the first item is adoption of the agenda.
Move. Second.
Adoption, all in favor? Motion's carried. This public hearing is to consider two items. One is the zoning application and development variance permit for 1879 Collins Avenue. And secondly, the zoning application regarding Liquor Grocery Stores, which is a zoning amendment. So with that in mind, I have the public hearing opening statement, and then we'll hear submissions. Bear with me, this public hearing is convened pursuant to section 464 of the Government Act for the purpose of hearing representations from those persons who believe that their interests are affected by the proposed zoning application and development variance permit for 1879 Comox Avenue, and then secondly, and separately, the Liquor Grocery Stores zoning amendment. We'll receive at this public hearing any representations that members of the public may wish to make regarding the development variance permit, which is also applicable to 1879 Comox Ave. The bylaws have received first and second readings, but have not passed third reading or been adopted by council. Notices of this hearing have been published in accordance with the Open Government Act. Copies of bylaws and development variance permit application and all supporting documentation and submissions to council received from the public have been available for inspection at town hall as required. To maintain order, ensure everyone a reasonable opportunity to be heard, I ask that each person wishing to speak first sign the speakers list, which is located at the desk of the clerk over to my right or left. And once called by the chair, please begin the presentation by stating your name and address, and make your presentation as brief as possible. After all have had the opportunity to be heard, anyone wishing to have further input may once again sign the speakers list. Council will not be debating with each other or members of the public at this hearing. The council will normally design answer questions. We're here to hear from you. However, questions on a technical level could be directed by myself to the staff if appropriate. Everyone will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard, and no one should or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views heard. So please refrain from any conduct that would intimidate others or discourage them from speaking. So again, this in general terms for the first item, 1879 Comox Avenue, the zoning application is to rezone subject property from R1.1 single family to new comprehensive development single family zoning. The variance permit applications to vary the subdivision and development servicing bylaw regarding road dedication with Comox Avenue and Ellis Street, and also not require underground wiring of transmissions line along the Ellis and Comox Avenue frontages, with the proposed development to be serviced by underground drop from the existing pole. If this is not possible, aerial servicing will be permitted. So again, to ensure that written submissions are included in the minutes of the meeting, please ensure that all our submissions get us clerk before the meeting. The proposed bylaw and development variance permit application for 1879 Comox Ave are now open for discussion. And I would ask the speakers list to be brought forward for this one hearing. Yes, thank you. At this point, we have 5 speakers, and speakers should come to the podium here. So first of all, Elsie Dugan. Right.
Okay. My name is Elsie Dugan. I live with my husband at 1883 Comox Avenue, which is just next to the lot 1, section 53, 1879 Comox Avenue. I have submitted a letter to the town hall, so everybody should have one, but I brought some and just in case people didn't have it. There was something wrong with my computer at the very end, so I thought we'd do the other one. I was therefore surprised to see that the lot may be divided to accommodate a full-sized house and, well, I should read from the beginning. K. Grenier called to see us during the summer and stated that he had bought the above named dwelling.
Ma'am, we do have the letters, so you don't necessarily have to read it out.
Oh, I just wanted to thank the staff for the very questions.
We've all got it here.
Pardon?
I'd say everybody's got it in front of them, but
Okay,
the
well-
audience, if you wish to read it, you can.
That means, sorry?
If you wish to read it out, you can, but we all do have it here.
Okay, well, just sort of reinforce if you can read. And the thing was that he planned on living there, but he said he would like to build a small coach house at the bottom of the property for his mother to live in, so he could keep an eye on her. He has never lived on the property, and at the moment no one is living there. He said he would keep us informed. We never did hear from him. We hadn't made any objections for the coach house, but suddenly we get this notice saying that it's not a coach house, that the property is divided, and it was a surprise to us. Well, this lot and the house there, of course, is the usual objections about the house next to the lot and the sun blocking our big garden, and our sun deck, which is glassed in, it would be private anyway. Therefore, I won't be able to sun in the new deck.
Sometimes there's too much information.
Maybe just no. we have been in the Comox at the Valley for a long time. Well, there's various things that bothers us, which you probably have heard before in other similar circumstances. But the thing that worries me most is one of the driveways at 1879 has been blocked, it's going to be blocked off so the traffic can't go onto Comox Avenue. So what has happened, on Ellis there have now been there's now going to be four driveways, which means we get a lot of traffic in the summer, boat trailers, yachts, and they're around that corner without even thinking of something sometimes. So there's going to be four driveways within about 60 yards from down Ellis. And I don't think that's a good idea either for residents or people. They'll have to back in or back out of the driveway because most of them are just straight and not very wide. So I'd like it to put it to council. This could be looked into to see what could be done about this, either a street light or something to slow people down. But it really is very busy for the, and there's lots of traffic is out there, particularly in the summer. Sorry, not just thinking of myself, I'm just thinking, I'm thinking of myself, but I think it's very dangerous for people on the street. Also, there's a driveway coming out the other side of the street, so that's about 5 driveways within about 60 yards. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker is Harry Adu.
Well, my wife more or less said everything I wanted to say. Perhaps I might add that those along Comox Avenue, those are good, or many of them are big lots. I think all of them are big lots, and that's why we built there. Or bought the houses already, but that's why we eyed that area. And if the trend is in the community to with this business of density building, it's all very nice density, but let's make it, if you really want to be dense, why don't you go to Vancouver? That's where you're going to be, and that's what we're going to become more and more like in this valley, if this type of thing is allowed to carry on. Now it affects us from a personal point of view, but I'm thinking in terms of the what is it? I've forgotten the title, but the community. Yeah, the community plan, and also the name Comox by the Sea. Yeah, we don't Comox by the Sea. The time they get all these infills here and there, goodness knows what we will be. But I'm very much opposed to this sort of thing. I know the idea sounds great when you read it in the newspaper, infilling. And maybe that's a good idea for some people, but as far as we're concerned, it's not. And I don't even have much more to add, but that's not the point. And it's very, and just before I sit down, that the house on the corner there that's wanting to subdivide, it's a great place for testifying. And I mean, I know the people that owned it formerly, and I know that they're had a hot tub and a few other things, and had a good time on that lot. So to sing with us, now mainly it was grandchildren later. I mean, our kids were kind of grown up at the time. No, they weren't completely grown up, but they weren't little kids when we were there. But in any event, I hope that we have pointed out a few things that you might not have thought of when it comes to this density business, and particularly in terms of that lot next to us along Comox Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker is Debbie Howell.
Mr. Mayor and fellow councilors, my name is Debbie Howell. I'm a resident and owner at 1876 Comox Avenue, which is Comox Place, Strata. A couple of concerns. As I sit on my third floor window in the living room, watching the traffic as it goes down Comox Avenue and whips around the corner down Ellis, some with a signal indicating they're turning and some with no signal indicating that they're turning, but they do. And in the opposite direction, those that come up Ellis Avenue and attempt to turn onto Comox Avenue. It's a very dangerous intersection. We're fortunate that we've not had a series of accidents there. There is a signal-controlled crosswalk just before that street, and one is never 100% certain that the car is going to stop as it comes racing down the street. I'm sure if you talk to the RCMP and the times that they have sat outside, people are often going faster than the 50 kilometers that are allowed within town limits. To put another driveway and a smaller driveway on that piece of property, I believe, is one more issue for traffic safety. I don't have a problem with dividing the lot into two lots, although if the owner wanted to put up a secondary suite for an in-law carriage house, I think that would be a far more appropriate use of the land. As it was mentioned before me, many people have either grown up in the valley or have come to the valley because of larger lots, and we really don't, as a whole, believe in density. Yes, it gives you more taxes for each residential building, but it is really not the vibe that the people in the Comox Valley want. I have some concerns about the variance permit. For degreasing the road dedication, that is a fast corner. I don't think the road should be made narrower. A traffic safety option could be putting in some kind of traffic calming device, could be a speed bump that shows up very rapidly after that corner. It could be some form of a divider, however, that would probably get hit. We want to see, as Comox develops, all underground services, wiring, etc. We've chosen to live where we live because we paid for a view. And as we all know, our property taxes will be going up this year because our assessment values are going up, or have gone up. And therefore, part of that assessment, a large portion of it, is based on our property and our property location. Our property location gave us a view, and therefore adding another house and that can conceivably impact that view, although I have been assured that the secondary building will not be any higher than the current building. I would like to see that in writing, though. Those are the end of my concerns for this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Taves is the next speaker.
Bill Taves, 147 Manor Place. I would have liked to have time to go and talk to town planners and sort of find out more what was happening. I just did about 10 minutes at lunchtime today. It was a bit rushed, and I thought I don't like to speak against people's ingenuity and people's progression and people's right to try and do things on their own property. In this instance, I think I had a few concerns, and I talked to other people briefly about it, and the concerns are similar. My concern is, again, traffic. Comox Avenue, that right turn on Ellis is a downward blind turn as it is, so it's difficult to see any cars coming out, especially if they were coming from behind that existing house. So I think, to me, it's a negative thing. I also think that I pull boats there, I've had boats moved there, and that's a difficult corner. It's our primary directed signage that says that this is the way to the marina, or this is the way to the lower park area, so it is a natural thoroughfare. It's uncommon in most communities to build another driveway into a fairly dangerous or a fairly challenging traffic spot, so I think that's something that we should have a very sober look at and decide if that's really what we want there. As far as the variance, I was surprised at that, and the reason I'm surprised at the variance is that most developers, when they bring developments to the town, are asked to give things to the town. And it seems to me that we as the town are giving things to our developers. For sure, many years ago, there was a proposal to make a one-way street system in our downtown corridor, and that was the primary beginning point of that one-way street. If anything, as our town increases in traffic or increases in mobility, or if we're gonna have necessary to have headways or bicycle ways or paths, we're gonna need more width for our street, not less. So it seems surprising to me that we would give up, in this case, it looks to me, 1.7 meters of land on Comox Avenue, and 1.7 meters of land on Ellis Street, and 0.7 meters on Comox Avenue. To me, that just, I'd like to know why. I'd like to know if we're getting paid for that property, and if so, how much.
Just at that point, I'll ask our planner just to clarify that, because in my recollection, when this was brought to council initially, that we weren't actually giving up anything in particular, other than if in the future there was to be a road widening in that area, then it could only widen so much. So perhaps you can explain.
Correct. Our ability to obtain road dedication is primarily at time of subdivision. So as this is a proposed subdivision, that's when we'll be looking for additional road dedication. Our current standard for our arterial on Comox Avenue is 25 meters. A lot of Comox Avenue on this block has already been built, the apartments on the north side. In looking at that, the past practice has been to not take for a full 25-meter road dedication. So what we did was took a look at what was done up in the past. So for example, the building on Comox Avenue, the multi-floor building, just east of the Anderton on the north side, that apartment building, we have parking on the ground floor. So there was additional road dedication taken there as an expanded sidewalk. So it was really modeled on that. So the idea would be that at time of subdivision, an additional 3 meters of road dedication for Comox Avenue would be taken. There is no and a corner cutoff, an additional corner cutoff of 6 by 6 meters would be taken. There is no need in terms of the services that we really have on Ellis for any additional road dedication, so there will be no road dedication under there. But no land would be given to the developer. There would be additional land taken to the developer. However, it would be the developer. That clarifies it for you.
Then I would wonder if we think ahead, as I said, having less dedicated land available is a problem because it restricts what we can do there. I sat on the planning advisory board several years ago, and when the first condominium development on Comox Avenue was proposed, it was proposed with a 25-foot setback. At that time, our group suggested that there should be 25-meter setback. I'm not sure, I think it ended up at 75 feet setback. That's for any of the condominium place projects. The reason for that was so that we had a streetscape and also so that we had access to do other things if needed in the future. So my concern here is that we should control and keep as much property as necessary, even though we don't see immediately need. We don't have to put new services in, but 5 years ago we had to put new services in, and gosh knows what's going to happen as we go ahead. The other thing I'm concerned about is the wiring. If you walk on that corner, you will see a new power pole, relatively new power pole that was put in some years back, and that power pole is in a very dangerous spot. I've seen trailers kind of rubbing it. It's not a good spot, and if any case, if we're going to subdivide and going to give away some of our right to land, I think we should ask that those services be put underground so we don't have an issue with that corner anymore. And so I think that I'd ask my council to seriously look at those issues and think from our whole, as I said, I feel bad talking against somebody else trying to do something that could be positive. Some people would say we're going to get more taxes, etc. But I think those two glaring areas of concern, number one, safety and road issue. Number two, the variances that I don't see how they serve our town in any way.
All right, thank you for your presentation.
Next speaker is Kai Rennie.
Yeah, I'm Kai Gurney, I'm the owner of 1879 Comox. We did make an effort a few months back at the beginning of the application to visit neighbors in the immediate area, notify them of what we were planning on doing. I appreciate most of them coming up tonight to voice their opinions. On the matters, hopefully clarify some of the issues. With the first two speakers immediately west of the property, as far as sun getting into the garden, the few things we did talk about that day.
Kai, you're speaking to us.
The few things we did talk about that day was that over time a tree had grown tall and he had lost his view of the marina. So he requested at the time that we were working on the property that we would prune it back down so he could regain his view. The direction from his porch doesn't obstruct, like the new building wouldn't obstruct his view at all. And with the trees there, it wouldn't block any more sunlight coming into the yard. As far as the driveway, the traffic thing is a valid concern, which is part of why we're eliminating that front driveway, is to try and pull the first driveway further back from the corner so that cars aren't pulling out right into the corner. The new driveway would be a ways down Ellis, so there's three entries to the existing property from Ellis right now, and the new one would be further down Ellis. So if there was an issue, it would be with existing driveway, and we're doing our best to mitigate that by leaving this front roll roundabout driveway. Yeah, and as Marv said, we're not making the road smaller, we're making it bigger. We're giving up a lot of land to the city under this development, so we're giving up substantial property. And the underground, as far as getting services underground, the services will be going underground. That's part of our submittal to the city, that the service is going to go underground, all new developments. It's nice to get wires underground, so that will be happening as well. So those are my comments on those raised issues. I hope that clarifies.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I would remind those present that legal considerations prevent the members of the council from sitting in a representation made after we close this agenda item. And before closing this agenda item, and before I call for transfer any further speakers, I do have two additional speakers on the list. First one is Wendy Prothero, speaking on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm Wendy Prothero. I live at 1945 Beaufort Avenue. And I guess my main concern with another driveway and more development on Ellis is the safety issue. I hope you all know what the speed limit is coming off Comox Avenue onto Ellis. It's not 50. It is 15. It is 15 kilometers an hour. There's a big highway sign there. And I've made note of that because in better health days, I am a bike rider. And Beaufort Avenue is a designated bike route with bikes marked on it. And when you are coming from the town of Comox and you are turning left onto Beaufort, you have to come up right around the corner and take a really close look at what's coming down Ellis. And pray to God that they're not coming around so fast that they swing into the left-hand turn lane going onto Beaufort. My recommendation would be, first of all, no more driveways coming onto Ellis. I would recommend that my council look at putting in a traffic calming table. They are all over the city of Courtenay. At the end of the Sheridan Walkway, I can just think of all kinds of places where and I'm sure you know what a traffic calming table is. But I would suggest, because the speed limit is 15, that you would put a traffic calming table on Ellis to slow the cars down. Because I stop sometimes on my bike to watch the cars coming off the avenue down Ellis. I stop at the corner there sometimes just to watch. And it is amazing that how many people swing into the left-hand turn lane as you're going onto Beaufort, coming from the town. It's totally unsafe. I don't know why we haven't had an accident there, but I think we've been very lucky. So that would be my recommendation. No more driveways on Ellis and a traffic calming table to make sure, because, and people go on Beaufort because it's a bike lane. You've got it marked on the street, and you want to make it safe for cyclists, because you're encouraging us to go on that route. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you. And the next speaker is, looks like Leah Gilkins. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. My name is Leah Gilchrist, and I owned that home for 23 years. I'm not going to repeat what lots of my neighbors have said, because I have the exact same concerns. The other concern I have is that I had multiple offers and chose this offer, and chose it under the understanding that the house would remain and there would be a small carriage home built in the back for relatives. This does not seem to be what's happening, so I question the accountability and ethics of that, and I feel that sort of in some ways I was manipulated into that situation. And so I just wonder, and I just think that it is a slippery slope, that if it's now 2 addresses, or is it going to be 1 address, and I've heard that the person is not going to be living here, but it's going to be 2 rental properties. I wonder what that does to the community.
Right, thank you for your presentation. Any further speakers? Okay, so before closing this agenda item, I'm going to call 3 times for the further speakers on any matters contained in the proposed bylaw and development variance permit application. So for the first time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? If so, you need to sign the list again. We'll wait till you do that. So Ms. Howell, you can come to the podium again.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I would like to just remind you of a previous meeting that was held where we won the decision over fixing the exit driveway at 1876 Comox Avenue, because the handy dart will not go up and retrieve seniors from our complex. This is important, I believe, to think about when you're talking about making narrower driveways, to ensure that vehicles such as handy dart have the ability to get in and out of all driveways that you're considering, especially ones that are maybe being made smaller. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Kai Renier?
Yeah, I just wanted to make one more note on the height of the building. Our plan is to make the first story pretty much the same level as the rear alley there, and the second story above that with a very low slope or flat roof. So as far as view lines, you'll be able to see over it from the decks of any of those houses, and definitely won't impede the view from the condos across the street. And the other thing would be to the previous owner that we obviously deal through realtors, and I don't know what was said from whose standpoint, but that was never, we don't intend to have renters there. We do intend to live there at some point. And
you guys, let your say, it's his say now. Let him finish.
We did have a renter in there while the process was with the city. That was the limit of our rental intentions.
Thank you. Bill Taves?
Just one addition about, I wasn't aware that there was a driveway change on the existing building. I personally like the driveway at the front because it gives me view corridor, if you will, down the hill a little bit. So losing that corner driveway at the front could indeed make visibility a little bit more restricted. I know that's within the parameters of everybody's house, I'm sure, but I would ask the owner to maybe consider that, because I think that's a deep corner and another safety enhancement of that property by having the opening. If that was fenced or treed, I think we'd have more difficulty in that corner than we have now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so for the second time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? And for the third time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? There being no further speakers, I'll declare this agenda item closed. We'll move on to the next item on public hearing. Just give it a few minutes. All right, so we'll now proceed with the public hearing regarding grocery stores. In general terms, the purpose of that zoning amendment bylaw is to amend the zoning bylaw to add a definition for grocery store which permits the sale of liquors and accessory use, and to allow grocery stores as a principal use in the following zones: C21, C22, C31, C41, C51, C13, which is comprehensive development 2310, and to amend the C4 code of commercial zone provisions and liquor stores of principal use on lot 80, Section 56 Comox District Plan BIP 75751. And again, to ensure that written submissions are included in the minutes, please ensure that they're also moved to the desk of the clerk before the end of the meeting. The proposed bylaw is now open for discussion. Is there a speaker list? No one on the speakers list. All right. So I remind those present that legal considerations prevent the members of council from considering a representation made after close the agenda item. So before closing this item, I'm going to call 3 times for any further speakers on any of the matters contained in the proposed bylaw. For the first time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? For the second time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? And for the third time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? There being no further speakers, I declare this agenda item closed. And we will close the public hearing at this point and reconvene under new business for the council meeting. And I assume that's the appropriate procedure. So under new business, and I'll let you get back to your agendas for the council meeting. We're going to receive the staff report entitled 2017 Completed Assessment.
Move that.
Second. All those in favor of receipt? Motion's carried. This is a report from our Director of Finance regarding the most recent assessment. And he's provided a good report to talk about the impacts of the increased assessments overall. And of course, pointing out, I think it's worth pointing this out, given what we just heard at the public hearing, that any residential property whose assessment rises by more than 11% will ultimately have a tax increase higher than our general tax increase percentage. So just because assessments have gone up doesn't mean necessarily that everyone's taxes go up. It's only if you go up by more than the average. Of course, is an issue we have to deal with every time the assessments do increase. And also worth noting that commercial assessments are, again, mostly unchanged. So our Director of Finance has encouraged anyone who's either residential or commercial assessment has risen by more than the averages to investigate those reasons further by contacting BC Assessment. And of course, if they need to appeal, they have to do so by the 31st of January. And
other point of note for our budget coming up is that non-market changes should slightly exceed the $54,000 budget for terms of taxation for new property for the year ahead. Probably won't know that for sure until we get the revised tax roll in March after all the fields are heard. So other than that, Director of Finance has indicated he's happy to answer any questions that we may have. Any questions? Good report? No questions? All right, so we'll move on to the carry forward, which we deal with at this juncture. This is for authorizing staff to continue to spend 2016 project budgets in 2017 to complete the acquisition studies, design, and projects that council approved in its 2016 financial plan.
I'll move that.
Moving second, any discussion? Councilor Swift?
I just have one question regarding the Rob Road Avenue project. If I'm reading this correctly, it's budgeted $889,000, we spent $321, but the remaining is only $134.
Director of Finance?
Clearly that's a typo.
You find it comfortable. Wonder what might happen.
Yeah, that's clearly a typo. Sorry about that. I apologize. What we're carrying forward into 2017 from phase one is only 25,000. I can confirm that much is clear.
Okay. So
That's the important thing, is how much we're asking to carry forward.
Okay. All right, so we can anticipate there's some, hopefully a little more left over there somewhere.
No, I think it's just a typo on what we spent. I'm sure we spent more than 321.
Well, anyways, okay, 25,000.
You're hoping for found money, I think.
Yeah. And the other question I had probably goes to, I don't have a problem with it carrying it forward, but I'm just wondering with the Northeast Comox storm drainage study, easy to read. What do we have to study yet? I'm not sure what we have left to do there.
There were two parts to that. Part of that was we had a budget for peer review, and part of that was we were going to actually take some towards the developer group because the scope of the original study was going to be expanded to include some properties beyond just the development lands. Okay? Now that combined was about 25,000 in terms of what remains. So those things still potentially both need to be done. You will be receiving the very first draft of the 2017 through 2021 financial plan next week. And what you're going to see included in that is actually a proposal where we might, if you authorize it, spend more again and actually take over the process. In other words, we might step in to see that the work that the developers are supposed to finish, that seems to be stalled, does get finished. And we would propose the funding mechanism of a special fee of some kind that would be levied upon development in the area to recover the costs we might front.
That will follow. The carry forward is still there, but
the carry forward is still there, but we're actually going to propose something a little bit more expensive with ultimate cost recovery.
We'll see what happens. Anything further on the carry forwards? All right. So all those in favor? Motion is carried. And now we'll move to development variance permit DVP 1612, recommendation to be issued subject to the conditions outlined in the report.
Move the recommendations.
And this is for 504 Torrance Road for the construction addition to the existing house for a side-by-side secondary street. So that's been moved and seconded. And for the discussion, questions, comments?
I just noticed, sorry, my thing wasn't lighting up here, so I got a little bit behind, but I noticed when I was reading through this that there was no comments from neighbors at all. Was there none, or?
Staff, if they received any comments?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Marvin, but
One letter, I think.
on the Torrance Road issue, there were some issues between adjacent property owners that have been worked out.
Yes, we did receive some inquiries in regards to the notice, and we answered those inquiries. We also looked at, and the developer agreed to some mitigation in terms of the existing people, and that's incorporated in the report.
Okay. Yeah, usually we get a positive or something from it, but there's just nothing.
All right, anything further? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, we'll move on to the planning report, CBRD referral amendment to temporary use permit for the Courtney Fish and Game Protective Association. So maybe staff can briefly, like, it looks to me like we've had this come to us before. Getting this enough information, and now it's come back and we still need more information. Maybe CEO, you can explain what's going on.
Yeah, I think it was about a year or so ago that the Fish and Game, I believe it was a rezoning application referral had come before council. And at that time, the recommendation that came forward from staff was that we had concerns related to expanded uses in our watershed at a time that we're moving towards trying to protect and reduce the expanded uses at our watershed. So the recommendation at the time was that we needed more information. The direction that the regional district took at the time was to issue a temporary use permit to the Fish and Game Club. And now with this application, there are still aspects, as the planning department report points out, that the applicant, in this case being the Courtney Fish and Game Club, still has not met in order for a lot of the aspects to be considered properly through the referral process. So again, we're asking for more information.
Yes, I see we raised that back in April 25th. Okay, so recommendations are that the CBRD be advised that as detailed in this report, insufficient information has been provided to assess the potential impacts of this amendment in relation to the regional growth strategy and the official community plan watershed management policies. And that the CBRD is requested to re-refers or comment upon the provision of that information.
So I'll move both of those.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Mr. McKinnon?
Is there any explanation why we have not been enlightened further or given more information from the Fish and Game Club? Those closer to it, the regional district,
This is being dealt with at a staff level, so
yeah.
I don't know why they haven't provided this information other than perhaps they don't think it's necessary. I don't, my speculation might be.
We've heard nothing that we already.
So nothing further to add on that plan? Okay. All right, so all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now we come to the zoning bylaw consolidation, and with the slip pages that you received earlier, which relate to some typos and other similar type amendments, the recommendation is that we give a first and second reading.
Move that.
Second.
Any discussion at first and second? Yes.
I do have a question. Page 181, we talked about parking for marina, and I'm wondering if that is going to be for boat owners down at the marina. You know, there's going to be a lot of activity down at the marina now. We're talking here one parking spot for 2 boats. Is there going to be some kind of allotted parking for boat owners in there, or boat users, or is this just for everybody? Because we talked about
This is for development of the marina or operation of the marina has to provide one parking space per 2 berths. So
right. So what we have right now, we should be providing 1 parking spot per
this is
2
for, I
berths.
believe, the private marina principally we're talking about here. Not the town.
Correct. Private marina, you currently provide parking, and it's on the old headwater site, and it's on the back of the professional building.
Right.
And so this would apply to any new development. So if we were to expand that marina, then, or the fisheries harbor, if they were to expand the area to add additional docks, then they would have to provide the parking spaces for secret variance, which is what was part of previous hotel redevelopment.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any further on? Yes, Councillor Chris.
And I just had a quick question on the page before, 180. When it says single-family dwellings without a secondary suite need 2 car parking spaces, and a single-family dwelling with a secondary suite only needs 1 for the dwelling and 1 for the suite. So adding the suite doesn't make any difference to the amount of parking. Did I read that wrongly?
There is additional regulations in the bylaws. The difference is if you have a single family dwelling without a suite, you can have 2, minimum is 2 parking spaces and they can be in tandem. So essentially a single car garage, the driveway leading to that single car garage would satisfy the requirement. If you have a suite, you have to have 2 parking spaces, but they cannot be in tandem. They have to each have their own separate access to the road. Because there's not going to be a car jockeying because they're separate households.
Okay, so when the one that you just approved, for example, that's a shared driveway. You're saying the parking was in tandem.
Correct.
Side by side. Okay, but they share a driveway.
They do share a driveway, yes.
So that's it. And most secondary suites would, right?
Yes, but just as long as they have their own, as long as they don't have to, for example, if the unit
has to be wide enough.
Yes, they can access. They don't have to ask the person of the other unit to move their car to actually have a car.
Okay. That answer your question?
Yeah. It's just that, there's sometimes a concern with secondary suites that there will be on-street parking and it looks like we were reducing the parking plan in Stanley.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're making any changes there. All right, so first and second reading, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried, and that public hearing is scheduled and located at this location. 1801B is that? Yes. Okay. So move for that.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, so that brings us, I believe, to correspondence. And the first item is.
Could I move receipt of 1 and 2?
Yes. Second. So motion to receive the correspondence from Wendy Crosswell and Julian Anderson regarding shape sites. So those are moved together. Seconded. All in favor? Motion's carried. Nothing arising out of that other than staff will report to us as on a going forward basis on for application. So, manager report anything. So discuss that. Okay. And so nothing further on those, then CBRC Water Committee needs the voting structure. So receive that letter.
Second.
Receive that, all in favor?
No. I just wanted to make a comment on that.
Oh, we're going to receive it first.
Okay.
Receive that, all in favor? Motion's carried. And,
so on the voting structure, I brought this up at the Water Committee before, and of course Courtney always gets her back up when I do, but when you look at the structure here, they have 7 votes. If you combine everybody else's, they can outvote everybody. Just the city of Courtney can just win a vote whenever they want to. And I believe that structure is wrong. And I never think that anyone should be able to have that much power to be able to do that. There should be some fail-safe in there, and there doesn't seem to be. So I really have a hard time with this voting structure. Now, Courtney loves it because they've got all the control if they want it. But there should be a mechanism where if they're doing something we really disagree with, we should be able to get together and say, no, stop.
that's called service.
Yeah. And yet we can't,
Unfortunately, the change was made.
Yeah, and it's wrong, right?
Notwithstanding my objections a number of years ago, and at this point, the city hasn't used that far, which is good.
No.
But there is potential for it. It was a voting system of equality, essentially 6 for them and 6 for everybody else. and it's based on consumption, of course, so they felt they were falling behind. It's interesting to note the figures from 1995, we were consuming roughly half the water, and we were at 30%, and given water metering in the electoral areas and to some extent in the town, our consumption is now 28%, the city's at 60%, so I guess they felt that's why they should have the majority. But long story short is, short of a service review, other action, we're kind of stuck with that.
Now, as other areas join on, it will take a long time, but like Sandwich and some of those areas become part of the system. The voting structure could change, but that's a long, long ways down the road. Anyway, just my objection. I just find it right.
Oh, I agree.
But I'm a former councillor, Tom.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Tom worked hard to get this right. He got hoisted at the last minute.
Yeah. Anyway, so we need to assign 2 votes to one of you and 1 to the other. So we would like to have 2 votes for the flag committee and 1 person for the other. So that's between Councillor Price and Councillor Grant, I do believe.
I think I had 2.
Okay. All right, so.
All right, thanks. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, all right.
Councillor Grant will have 2 votes, and Councillor Price will have 1 at the water committee as in capacity as regional district directors. So I need a motion to that effect. Move the second, all in favor? Motion's great.
We continue to see that she gets all the votes at the sewer.
She is the chair there.
That's right.
All right, so we dealt with all that, and we'll let them know. Last item of correspondence is from Alan Kobayashi regarding the Ruby Warrior Runs for receipts.
Move receipts. Second.
Receive that, all those in favor? Motion's carried. No late items or delegations further to what we heard this evening, so reports from members of the council. Although first, back in December, of course, attended the Fixed Wing Search and Rescue announcement, so that's old news now, but that was something since we last met. New Year's levies, attended one at the base and the one at the Legion here in Comox. The Wedler Engineering 10th anniversary celebrations at the Native Summit, part of the First Nations Administration Building. Participated again in the Vanier student grad exit interviews, which are always a good thing to see. Students going forth into the world with their heads on straight. And lastly, just attended as an alternate to the Sewer Commission meeting the other day. So that's my report. So let's start with Councillor Price.
Okay, yes, and going back before Christmas, attended MLA Don Craig's Christmas open house, the Regional District inaugural board meeting. I man the Salvation Army kettle drum, and I did go to the Comox Region New Year's levy. I attended the AJCC executive meeting in Nanaimo, and I'm part of Inclusion Task Force, which has come out of the Change Maker workshop that I looking at basically diversity and how do we accommodate for diversity, and then also the truth and reconciliation and those aspects. I with the UBCM First Nations Relations Committee met with Minister Rusted in Vancouver. I was at the Comox Valley Student Commission where I was proclaimed. It was a hard fight, but I was to the door, and the Regional District Committee as a whole. At the big agendas at the Sewage Commission, we did approve taking biosolids from Ladysmith for a very short time, about 5 weeks, because they're having a problem with the neighborhood, and they've got a plan, but it's not quite ready. We did go through the 2017-2021 financial planning process. We did award the contract for engineering services for the Comox No. 2 pump station. Still on the proviso that the studies will look if there's any red flags, or so it's a work in progress. We approved odor control upgrades for the Comox Valley Water Pollution Control Centre, and we had an update on the HMCS Quadra project, which the open house yesterday. And lots of, Maureen will attest, the COW with a lot of financial planning. We did receive the strategic priorities status report, and the Queen's Ditch Pump Station number 2 and water treatment, and the Comox Valley Civic Centre, or the new regional district building, are the top of the strategic priorities. And we did have a BC assessment role presentation, and our report covered a lot of that. The proposed 2017-21 financial plan, it is interesting that there are 99 services at the regional district, with 99 budgets. We in Comox participate in 22 of those. And our assessment is high in Comox, so we will take a little more of the requisition. So just a heads up on that. And a lot of the reason, and Maureen knows much more about this, is the solid waste has certainly hit the budget. A 37% increase in requisition, and then the sewer with 14%. So we've got some big ticket items on there. And between water, sewer, solid waste, that's about 64% of what we pay to the regional district. And so the increase is on a $370,000 average home. We will be looking at on the regional district side, excluding the contracts, which are water, sewer, and then a couple of small ones. We would be looking at this point $33 plus increase. And we're looking to start building the new corporate building in 2018, and I think that's. I'm sure Maureen will pick up anything that I missed. Or
You're right. Well, I also attended the big swing ceremony before Christmas, which was great and such relief after all these years of planning. I attended the unveiling of the new plaque and signage at the Chinese Cemetery in Cumberland, and it was a lovely ceremony, and it was a little cold, but it was great and well attended. And I attended the Sewage Commission meeting, and in place of Councillor Canberra, I attended the Committee of the Whole yesterday in the Regional District, where we were given the overview, and that was a really interesting experience for me. Out of the $33.58 that we're going to be tasked with, $32 are coming out of the solid waste management project. So that's a big one. And we have our solid waste tomorrow, so we can learn more about it tomorrow. So, and that's very important.
Okay. And I believe we factored in some, if not all, of those increases in our utility rates every month. So, although they're saying 33, it's whatever we've already decided.
Yeah. Your worship, the solid waste increase is a tax levy.
Well,
so that'll be on the regional district line of taxation.
So that one will be.
It's not part of our fees. Our garbage user fees are unchanged this year.
So we'll get accused of the increase, but it'll actually be on the RD's price.
Because we're getting out of money.
We're paying their roads yet.
All right. Well, have fun at these solid waste. I don't miss those. Councillor Knott?
Yeah, I did attend the fixed wing meeting there before Christmas, I guess.
Yes.
Seems so long ago. Had a community justice meeting, first one of this year, last week. BIA meeting yesterday, and it was followed by a media presentation by Hawkhouse media, and which is quite interesting. You would like it with using your tablets and so on to communicate with. And then the sewage open house I popped into earlier when I saw some of the other councillors there.
So are you communicating while you're at the table with them?
No, I would never do that. I just want you to know and, yeah.
Councilor McKinnon? Just a couple items. Over the Christmas season, I too manned the Salvation Army Kettle, along with some other councillors. Also attended the Boxing Day Polar Bear Swim, hosted by our Comox Rec and Fire Department, and it was a great turnout there. Kudos to the fire departments for that. January 4th, the Homeless Coalition meeting, back at it, and working hard to accomplish their 5-year plan. This Saturday, we'll be at the Vancouver Island Regional Library meeting in Nanaimo. And I've been asked by the Comox Valley Multicultural Society to invite Mayor and Council this Saturday to the Stanhagen Theatre at North Island College for a rural racism speaker and session on Saturday. That's my report.
All right, thanks. Councillor Grant.
Yes, thank you. I attended to the fixed wing announcement, which we're very happy about. The MLA open house. Also attended a presentation on the biodiesel fuel, which was very interesting. The presentation of the Chinese Legacy Project. It was very good. I was very pleased that Comox was represented there, because there was some municipalities that were conspicuous by their absence, and it was nice that we were there. And the senior board meeting.
Okay, great. Councillor King.
I also attended the Polar Bear Swim with Santa Claus McKinnon over there, just by happenstance actually, and man, was it cold out that day.
Were you still for a swim that day?
No, I didn't go anywhere near the water. That was cold. I don't know what they were thinking. But I also did went to the fixed wing announcement, the Wedler 10-year anniversary, and I'll praise open house for Christmas, and I was away at yesterday's RD board meeting, so I didn't attend any of those. So that's about it.
All right, great. Thank you for those reports. So in terms of business arising from the public hearing, we do have for consideration, the council wish to consider giving third reading to the rezoning application for liquor and grocery stores.
I would move that.
Yeah, second.
And for the discussion at third reading? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. And also for adoption.
Move.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, and that brings us to media questions. Any questions from the media this time? Okay, still awake, Doctor? And questions from the member of the public this week? And we don't have any camera meetings, so a motion to adjourn would be in order. All in favor? Meeting adjourned.